You think your kindness is chosen, but it is often programmed by pressure. Someone can steer your mood without touching you or raising a voice. If you want calm power, you must see the method behind the mask. Most people believe kindness is always strength. That belief is beautiful, but incomplete. Kindness without awareness becomes a handle. It becomes a predictable lever. When someone learns your lever, they can move you quietly. You will feel moral while losing control. You will feel calm while being guided. You will feel guilty while they stay comfortable. You never notice this, but guilt is one of the easiest steering wheels. The hidden manual starts with a simple truth. The mind protects its self-image before it protects its boundaries. If you see yourself as kind, helpful, and fair, you will defend that identity. You will over-explain. You will keep giving chances. You will avoid firm words. You will choose harmony, even when harmony costs you. The mind prefers a clean mirror, even if the room is burning. This is why kind people get used, not because kindness is weak, because kindness is often unmanaged. Unmanaged kindness leaks. It leaks time, attention, energy, and dignity. A quiet user does not need force. A quiet user needs your automatic reactions. They need your fear of seeming harsh. They need your habit of rescuing tension. They need your need to be understood. They need your need to be seen as good. The first mechanism is approval hunger, even when you deny it. Approval hunger is not vanity. It is a nervous system pattern. It is the feeling that conflict equals danger. When conflict feels dangerous, you will pay to avoid it. The currency is concessions. You pay with extra effort. You pay with extra patience. You pay with extra access to your life. You call it kindness, but the mind calls it safety behavior. Watch how this gets triggered. Someone delays, you feel pressure. Someone stays cold, you feel responsible. Someone frowns, you feel wrong. Someone withdraws, you feel urgency. These are not logical events, they are social signals. Your brain reads signals like weather. It prepares for storms. If your brain learned that storms hurt, you will start negotiating with clouds. You stay calm when people test you by understanding what a test really is. A test is not always an insult. It is a probe. It checks where your line is. It checks if your no can survive discomfort. It checks if you will trade your boundary for peace. It checks if you will explain until you collapse. Once they find the line, they walk closer. If the line moves, they push more. If the line stays, they adapt. Most people fail the first probe because they answer the wrong question. They think the question is, am I being fair? The real question is, am I being directed? Fairness is important, but it is not the first filter. Direction is the first filter. If you are being directed, fairness becomes a trap. A skilled user loves fairness language. They say, be reasonable. They say you are overreacting. They say a good person would understand. They say do not be negative. These phrases are not arguments. They are identity hooks. Identity hooks work because you want to remain consistent. Consistency is a psychological need. Once you accept a label, you protect it. If you accept the label of nice, you will perform niceness. If you accept the label of mature, you will swallow disrespect. If you accept the label of spiritual, you will forgive too fast. If you accept the label of strong, you will tolerate overload. The manual does not attack you directly. It recruits your labels. Emotional intelligence starts with separating values from reflexes. Kindness is a value. Pleasing is a reflex. Patience is a value. Postponing your needs is a reflex. Forgiveness is a value. Ignoring patterns is a reflex. Empathy is a value. Self-betrayal is a reflex. Your job is not to become cold. Your job is to stop confusing reflexes with virtues. The hidden system uses three main tools. The first is timing pressure. Timing pressure makes you decide fast. It says, answer now. It says, do it today. It says, do not think too much. It says, I need you right away. The goal is not speed. The goal is to block your reflection. Reflection is where your boundary is born. Without reflection, you return to default. Your default is how you were trained. To stay calm, you need a pause that looks natural. You do not need dramatic silence. You do not need anger. You need a simple delay that protects your mind. Say, I will think and reply soon. Say, I need time to check. Say, I will get back after I consider it. These sentences sound boring, but they are power. Boring phrases stop emotional hijacking. Boring phrases remove urgency, poison. The second tool is guilt framing. Guilt framing makes you feel selfish for having limits. It says, after all I did. It says, you changed. It says, I expected better. It says, you are making me feel bad. The goal is not truth. The goal is emotional debt. Once you feel debt, you start paying. You pay with overgiving. You pay with silence. You pay with apology. You pay with access. The calm response to guilt framing is not defense. Defense gives them a steering wheel. If you defend, you accept their frame. You accept that you must prove you are good. Instead, you name your boundary without begging for innocence. Say, I understand you feel disappointed. Say, my answer stays the same. Say, I will not discuss this in guilt. These sentences protect your nervous system. They keep you from performing. Notice the difference between empathy and surrender. Empathy is seeing emotion. Surrender is obeying emotion. Emotional intelligence means you can witness feelings without letting feelings command you. This includes your own feelings. Guilt is a feeling. Guilt is not always a verdict. Sometimes guilt is a trained alarm. It rings whenever you choose yourself. You can hear the alarm and still lock the door. The third tool is confusion fog. Confusion fog happens when someone keeps shifting meanings. They change what was agreed. They change what they said. They change what you said. They flood you with details. They bring old issues. They mix jokes with criticism. The goal is not clarity. The goal is exhaustion. When you are exhausted, you agree just to end discomfort. That is the moment you get used. The calm antidote is structure. Structure is a mind shield. You bring the talk back to one point. You use short sentences. You repeat one line. You ask one question. You do not chase every detail. You do not take every bait. You do not correct every lie. Correction is a trap. It pulls you into their maze. Use a simple anchor. Say, what do you want from me right now? Say, what is the exact request? Say, what happens if I say no? These questions reveal the hidden aim. Most pressure collapses when you ask for the core. If the core is reasonable, you can negotiate calmly. If the core is control, it will show itself. Now you must learn the most uncomfortable lesson. Many people do not test you with aggression. They test you with sweetness. They praise you to own you. They call you special to lock you in. They say you are the only one who understands. They say you are different. The praise is not always fake, but it can be used like a collar. Once you accept the role, you fear losing it. This is where emotional intelligence becomes sharp. You can enjoy praise without becoming dependent. You can accept appreciation without trading your freedom. The manual wants you to confuse affection with obligation. Your job is to separate them. Affection is a feeling. Obligation is a contract. Never sign contracts with feelings. Here is a quiet rule that changes everything. Never let your self-worth be negotiated in real time. Real time is where pressure wins. Self-worth must be decided in private. It must be anchored in your principles. Your principles are not moods. They are chosen lines. When you have chosen lines, you stop debating your right to have them. A chosen line can be simple. My time is limited. My energy matters. My no is allowed. My silence is allowed. My needs count. When these lines are firm inside you, outside pressure feels smaller. The pressure still exists, but it does not own you. The goal is not to dominate anyone. The goal is to protect your mind from silent steering. You also need to see why calmness scares certain people. Calmness removes their control points. A reactive person is easy to guide. Anger can be guided. Guilt can be guided. Excitement can be guided. Fear can be guided. Calmness is hard to guide. Calmness creates a delay. Delay creates choice. Choice creates freedom. This is why some people will provoke you, then judge you. They will press your buttons, then call you unstable. The trap is not the provocation. The trap is the label. Once you accept their label, you start proving your stability. Proving is a leash. You do not need to prove calmness. You need to practice it. Practice begins with noticing your body. The body is where manipulation lands first. You feel heat in the face. You feel tightness in the chest. You feel dryness in the throat. You feel fast thoughts. These are signs of a nervous system shift. If you speak during that shift, you will speak from defense. Defense is predictable. Predictable is usable. So you slow down one step earlier. Inhale slowly through the nose. Exhale longer than you inhale. Keep your eyes steady. Relax the jaw. Drop the shoulders. These moves sound small, but they change chemistry. Chemistry changes language. Language changes outcomes. Calm is not a personality trait. Calm is a skill. Then you use what looks like emotional maturity, but is actually strategic hygiene. You refuse to debate your boundary. You state it once. You repeat it if needed. You exit if disrespect rises. You do not threaten. You do not punish. You simply remove access. Access is the real currency. People use you when they have too much access, with too little respect. Respect is not fear. Respect is basic care for your limits. If someone cannot handle a simple no, they were not requesting, they were extracting. Extraction always comes with emotion. It comes with disappointment, performance. It comes with sadness, performance. It comes with anger, performance. Performance is meant to move you. Your calm is meant to stop movement. Now notice the deeper twist. Users often believe they are the victim. They feel entitled because they feel hurt. They feel justified because they feel stressed. They feel righteous because they feel misunderstood. Feelings become permission. This is why arguing facts rarely helps. The core is not logic. The core is entitlement, mixed with insecurity. Your response must not attack their feelings. Attack makes them louder. Your response must restrict the behavior. Say, I hear you. Say, I will not accept that tone. Say, we can talk when it is respectful. This keeps you humane and still firm. This is emotional intelligence with steel. Here is another hidden control point. When you keep explaining, you teach them where your guilt lives. Every long explanation reveals your weak spot. Every extra detail becomes a hook. The manual says, make them talk, then use their words. If you want to stay untouched, use fewer words. Fewer words means fewer handles. This does not mean you become silent and cold. It means you choose clean language. Clean language has three traits. It is brief. It is clear. It is consistent. Consistency is the wall. Inconsistency is the door. If your no becomes maybe, the probe becomes push. If your boundary becomes a debate, the request becomes a demand. So you build a calm script for common tests. When someone pressures, say I cannot commit right now. When someone guilt trips, say I understand, and my answer stays no. When someone confuses, say let us keep it to one point. When someone insults, say I will end this talk if it continues. These lines are not rude, they are protective. Protection is not cruelty. Now comes the most important mental shift. You stop trying to be seen as kind. You start trying to be kind in a way that is safe. Safe kindness includes boundaries. Safe kindness includes self-respect. Safe kindness includes timing. Safe kindness includes discernment. Unsafe kindness gives everything to everyone, then calls it love. Discernment is the quiet edge. Discernment means you do not judge people as good or bad. You judge patterns as safe or unsafe. Patterns repeat. Words change. Promises change. Excuses change. But patterns keep their shape. If a pattern makes you smaller, it is not love. If a pattern makes you anxious, it is not respect. If a pattern demands you surrender, it is not connection. The hidden manual ends today with one question that will disturb you. If someone benefits from your guilt, why would they ever help you heal it? You think you are choosing peace, but you are often buying it with silence. They test you with small discomforts, then measure how fast you bend. If you learn the hidden signals, your calm becomes untouchable. The next layer is about frames, because power is usually a frame battle. A frame is the meaning around an event. It decides who is right, who is guilty, and who must fix it. Kind people lose frames because they focus on facts. Facts matter, but frames control facts. A skilled pressure pattern can accept your facts, then still make you feel wrong. You never notice this, but you can lose while being correct. The first frame trap is the morality frame. It sounds like goodness, but it functions like a leash. It uses words like caring, empathy, respect, and maturity. It suggests that a good person gives more. It implies that a strong person tolerates more. It hints that a loving person sacrifices more. The hidden trick is simple. It turns your values into obligations, then demands payment. To escape this trap, you must separate moral value from social control. Your values are internal. Control is external. A value guides your choices. Control overrides your choices. When someone uses your value to erase your choice, they are not honoring your value. They are harvesting it. This is where emotional intelligence becomes strategic. You stop proving you are good. Proving is a performance for someone else. You start acting from your principles, even if misunderstood. Misunderstanding is not an emergency. Tension is not a disaster. Disappointment is not a death sentence. If your nervous system treats these as danger, you will keep surrendering. The second frame trap is the victim frame. It is not always fake, but it is often weaponized. It says, "Look what you did to me." It says, "You made me feel this way." It says, "You ruined my day." The goal is to shift responsibility. They want you to manage their emotions. If you accept that role, you will become their emotional employee. There is a calm line that breaks this frame without cruelty. You acknowledge emotion, then return responsibility. Say, "I hear you feel hurt." Say, "I am still not changing my decision." Say, "Your feelings matter, and they are yours to handle." This is not cold. This is mature. You can care about feelings without becoming controlled by feelings. The third frame trap is the emergency frame. Everything becomes urgent. Every request becomes now. They create a countdown in your mind. Urgency reduces choice. Urgency makes you skip your inner check. And people who pressure urgency often hate boundaries, because boundaries require time. The hidden manual gives one antidote. You refuse the speed. You slow the pace without apologizing. You do not justify the pause. You treat reflection as normal. You can say, "I do not decide under pressure." You can say, "I will respond after I think." You can say, "I am not available for rushed choices." The calm tone matters more than the words. Calm tone says you are not afraid. Here is what most people miss. The real test is not the request. The real test is your reaction to their reaction. You set a limit, then they react. They sigh, they pout, they go cold, they get loud, they act wounded. That reaction is the second probe. It checks if you can hold steady. Kind people often pass the first step, then fail the second. To stay calm, you must expect the second probe. You must treat it like weather, not like truth. Their reaction is information, not authority. It tells you how they handle limits. If they handle limits badly, you learn something important. You do not rescue them from that lesson. This is where guilt and fear usually enter. You fear losing connection. You fear being called selfish. You fear being seen as difficult. You fear being misunderstood. These fears are not silly. They are human, but they become dangerous when they run your mouth. The mouth under fear makes promises. The mouth under fear explains too much. The mouth under fear bargains with dignity. A calm mind uses a different tool, the broken record. It is not aggressive, it is consistent. You repeat the boundary with small variation. You do not add new reasons. New reasons invite debate. Debate invites erosion. Erosion invites extraction. You can say, "I cannot do that." You can say, "That will not work for me." You can say, "My answer is no." Calm repetition is not stubbornness, it is clarity. Now look at the next hidden pattern, the compliment trap. It feels good, but it can be control. Someone praises your kindness, then requests a sacrifice. They praise your loyalty, then demand access. They praise your patience, then deliver disrespect. Praise becomes a setup. The sequence is important. First they inflate an identity, then they test if the identity can be exploited. The antidote is to treat compliments as information, not instructions. You can accept praise without obeying it. You can say, "Thank you," and still decline. If praise turns into pressure, you have proof it was a tool. Real appreciation does not punish you for saying no. Another pattern is the scarcity trap. It says, "You are the only one." It says, "Nobody else can help." It says, "If not you, then everything fails." Scarcity creates importance, and importance creates obligation. But scarcity is often manufactured. Even when it is real, it does not erase your limits. A calm response is to offer options without offering yourself. Say, "I cannot, but you can try this." Say, "I am not available, but here is a resource." Say, "I can help later, not now." Options reduce drama. Drama is fuel for pressure. Now comes a deeper layer, the kindness debt trap. It starts when someone gives something, then collects later. Sometimes giving is generous. Sometimes giving is investment. The manual says, give first, then remind them later. Remind them with sadness. Remind them with anger. Remind them with silence. The goal is to create obligation without agreement. Emotional intelligence means you track agreements, not favors. A favor is not a contract unless you accept it as one. You can feel gratitude and still refuse a trade you never approved. You can say, I appreciate what you did. You can say, I did not agree to exchange. You can say, I will decide based on what works now. You are not denying the past. You are refusing to be trapped by it. To make this easier, you need a personal rule. Never accept a gift that comes with invisible strings. Invisible strings appear as vague expectations. They appear as passive aggression. They appear as later comments about loyalty. They appear as tests of gratitude. Gratitude is healthy, but forced gratitude is control. Another trap is the fairness trap. It uses equal language to demand unequal outcomes. It says, I did it for you, so do it for me. It says, it is only fair. Fairness is good, but fairness needs context. Sometimes you did not ask for their effort. Sometimes their effort was their choice. Sometimes their effort was strategic. If you accept fairness without context, you accept their ledger. The calm response is to define fairness through consent. Fairness means both sides agree. Fairness means both sides can say no. Fairness means both sides can renegotiate. Fairness does not mean you must pay for choices you did not request. Now we move into the testing behaviors that look small but are big. Teasing that targets dignity. Jokes that cut, then blame your sensitivity. Small interruptions that show your words do not matter. Delayed replies when you need clarity, then instant replies when they want something. These are micro-tests. The manual loves micro-tests because they look harmless. You feel dramatic if you react, so you swallow it. Swallowing becomes training. You stay calm by naming patterns without heat. You can say, I do not like jokes about that. You can say, do not interrupt me. You can say, I will continue when you let me finish. You can say, I need a clear answer. Naming is not fighting. Naming is reality. Reality blocks manipulation because manipulation needs fog. And here is a hard truth. Some people want your emotional reactions more than your agreement. Your reaction feeds them. Your anger proves they can move you. Your tears prove they can shape you. Your long messages prove they live in your head. The manual says, provoke, then watch them spin. Spinning is surrender. The antidote is emotional economy. You spend emotion where it is earned. You do not overshare your wounds with someone who uses them. You do not reveal your guilt triggers to someone who profits from them. You do not confess your insecurities in the middle of a power game. Vulnerability is precious, but it must be placed with discernment. This does not mean you become closed forever. It means you test safety first. Safety looks like consistency. Safety looks like respect for your no. Safety looks like repair after conflict. Safety looks like accountability without excuses. When these are missing, you reduce access. You stay polite, but you stay protected. Now build a simple internal checklist when you feel pressure. First is their urgency. Second is their guilt. Third is their confusion. Fourth is their praise linked to sacrifice. Fifth is their punishment for delaying. If you see two or more, you are likely inside a frame trap. That is when you slow down. That is when you simplify. That is when you stop explaining. There is also a quiet skill that makes you unshakable: selective disclosure. You do not reveal your full reasoning. You do not reveal your full schedule. You do not reveal your full emotional state. You share what is necessary, not what is demanded. People demand details to find negotiation points. If you give fewer details, you give fewer handles. Say, I cannot make it, instead of, I cannot make it because I am exhausted and anxious. Say, I am not able to help, instead of, I am not able because I already helped 3 times. Reasons can be true, but reasons invite attack. The manual attacks your reasons, not your boundary. Some viewers fear this feels dishonest. It is not dishonest to keep privacy. Privacy is not deception. Privacy is a boundary. Emotional intelligence includes privacy, because privacy protects your future self from pressure you cannot predict. Now notice the final twist of this layer. When you stop being easily used, some people will call you changed. They will say you became cold. They will say you became selfish. They will say you became arrogant. This is not always an accurate diagnosis. It is often a control attempt. It is a label meant to bring back the old you. Your calm response is not to argue the label. Arguing keeps the label alive. You can say, I understand you feel that way. You can say, I am still choosing this boundary. You can say, we can talk when it is respectful. You let the label float away, like smoke that cannot land. Here is what matters. You do not become ruthless toward people. You become ruthless toward patterns that steal your mind. You become ruthless toward guilt that is not earned. You become ruthless toward urgency that is manufactured. You become ruthless toward confusion that is designed. You protect your peace with clarity, not cruelty. And now the question that should make you uneasy. If someone only respects you when you are useful, what happens when you become calm and unavailable? You think you are calm, but your calm can be a performance for approval. They do not need your time, they need your emotional permission. If you remove that permission, their influence collapses quietly. The next reveal is about emotional contracts. An emotional contract is a rule you follow, even though you never agreed. It feels like duty. It feels like decency. It feels like loyalty. But it is often just conditioning. Kind people carry many hidden contracts, and each one is a door. One contract says, if someone is upset, I must fix it. Another says, if someone misunderstands me, I must explain. Another says, if someone asks nicely, I must say yes. Another says, if I disappoint someone, I am bad. None of these are laws, but they feel like laws inside your body. That is why they work. Power psychology, in a safe form, is not about controlling others. It is about seeing control attempts and exiting them with composure. And the fastest way to exit is to break the emotional contracts you did not sign. The first contract to break is emotional rescue. Emotional rescue is when you rush to soothe someone, even when they are using emotion as leverage. You confuse compassion with compliance. You think if I calm them, the problem ends. But sometimes the emotion is the strategy. If you calm them by surrendering, you reward the strategy. Then the strategy returns, stronger. Emotional intelligence gives a different path. You allow their emotion to exist without solving it. You do not mock it. You do not attack it. You simply refuse to become its servant. You can say, I hear you are upset. You can say, I will not change my decision. You can say, we can continue later. This is calm power, because it removes the payoff. The second contract is clarity addiction. Clarity addiction is the belief that every tension must be cleared, right now. Kind people chase closure. They want everyone to understand. They want clean endings. But some people use your closure hunger to keep you chasing. They stay vague, so you keep asking. They drop small hints, so you keep thinking. They deny, so you keep proving. Your mind becomes occupied, and occupation is control. The manual loves this because your attention becomes their property. The antidote is to accept incomplete clarity. That sounds uncomfortable, because it is, but it is also freedom. You can say, I have enough information to decide. You can say, I am not continuing this loop. You can say, I am okay with you disagreeing. Disagreement does not harm you unless you treat it as a threat. The third contract is fairness over self-respect. This contract says you must be balanced, even when the other side is not. It says you must compromise, even when they demand. It says you must stay gentle, even when they go sharp. This contract is why kind people become targets. A target is someone who will not match intensity. A target absorbs intensity, then apologizes. Emotional intelligence is not about matching cruelty. It is about matching clarity. If they escalate, you do not escalate. You narrow, you simplify, you end the interaction sooner, you remove access, you move from talk to structure. Structure is the language of self-respect. Now we go into triggers, because triggers are the control panel. A trigger is a cue that causes a predictable emotional shift. Predictable shifts can be exploited. The manual studies what makes you rush, what makes you freeze, what makes you explain, and what makes you feel guilty. You can study the same things without paranoia and without obsession. The most common trigger is the disappointed face. Disappointment is powerful because it signals social rejection. The brain fears rejection. It fears being removed from the group. In early life, removal could mean danger, so disappointment feels like threat, even in safe situations. A skilled pressure pattern uses disappointment as a weapon that looks innocent. To stay calm, you must reinterpret disappointment. Disappointment is not a sentence. Disappointment is not proof you did wrong. Disappointment is often just the cost of your boundary. Sometimes your boundary blocks their convenience. Their inconvenience becomes their disappointment. You are not responsible for their convenience. Another trigger is the silent treatment. Silence can be peace, or it can be punishment. Punishment silence aims to create anxiety, so you chase them. It tries to make you fill the gap with apology. It tries to make you earn their warmth. Warmth becomes payment. This is emotional control disguised as distance. The calm response is to stop chasing. Chasing teaches them that silence works. Instead, you keep your dignity steady. You continue your life. If communication must happen, you invite it once, without pleading. You can say, "I am available to talk respectfully." Then you stop. Availability is offered, not begged. Another trigger is moral accusation. Moral accusation says you are selfish, ungrateful, cold, or rude. These words stab the identity of a kind person. They are designed to. The goal is to make you rush into proving your goodness. Proving is exhausting, and it keeps you inside the frame. The antidote is to refuse identity court. You do not enter a trial about your character. You return to behavior and boundaries. You can say, "You can see it that way." You can say, "I am still saying no." You can say, "I will not debate labels." This feels bold, because it is, but it is not aggressive. It is clean. Now comes a skill that feels almost unfair, but it is simply awareness. You learn to hear the difference between a request and a demand. A request can accept no. A demand punishes no. Punishment can be loud or quiet. It can be anger or guilt or withdrawal or sarcasm. Once you see punishment, you stop negotiating. Negotiating with punishment teaches them punishment works. This is why boundaries must include consequences. Consequence does not mean revenge. It means a predictable response that protects you. If the tone becomes disrespectful, you end the call. If the conversation becomes circular, you pause it. If guilt begins, you refuse to continue. Your consequence is not meant to teach them. It is meant to protect your mind. Many viewers fear consequences will end relationships. Sometimes they will, but ask yourself a sharper question. Was the connection real, or was it access? Real connection survives boundaries. Access addiction collapses under boundaries. This is not tragedy, it is information. Now we reveal another hidden tool, the doorway question. A doorway question is a question designed to trap you into a yes. It sounds small, but it is a gateway. It says, "Can you do me a quick favor?" It says, "Do you have a minute?" It says, "Can I be honest with you?" If you say yes, they rush in with a heavy load. Then you feel trapped because you gave permission. Emotional intelligence means you control entry. You do not grant open doors. You ask for the request first. Say, "What do you need?" Say, "What is it about?" Say, "How long will it take?" If they refuse to specify, that is a signal. Secrecy plus urgency is rarely healthy. And now a deeper twist. Your own kindness can become your addiction. You may crave being needed. You may crave being the safe person. You may crave being the one who understands. This craving can come from a good heart and still harm you. If you need to be needed, you will tolerate manipulation to keep your role. This is why the hidden manual says, build self-worth that does not depend on rescue. You can help, but you do not need to be a hero. You can support, but you do not need to be chosen. You can care, but you do not need to be consumed. How do you build this self-worth? You practice self-loyalty. Self-loyalty means you keep small promises to yourself. You rest when you said you would rest. You leave when you said you would leave. You stop explaining when you said you would stop. Each kept promise trains your nervous system to trust you. When you trust you, you stop chasing trust from others. Then you build emotional granularity. Granularity means you name what you feel with precision. Instead of saying, "I feel bad," you say, "I feel pressured." Instead of saying, "I feel hurt," you say, "I feel dismissed." Instead of saying, "I feel anxious," you say, "I feel rushed." Precision gives you control. Vague emotion creates fog, and fog invites manipulation. You also learn to spot the hook emotion. Hook emotions are guilt, shame, and fear. Guilt says you owe. Shame says you are flawed. Fear says you will lose love. When any hook emotion spikes, you pause. You do not decide, you do not promise, you do not confess. You breathe, you slow, you wait. Waiting is not avoidance. Waiting is ownership. Ownership means you choose your response, not your reflex. Reflex is what others can predict. Response is what others must respect. Now notice the final layer of part 3, the calm mask problem. Some people use calmness as a mask to stay in control. They look collected, but they are steering. They act reasonable, but they are rigid. They speak softly, but they deny your reality. You might feel confused because there is no obvious aggression. The aggression is hidden in the frame. You stay calm by trusting your signals. If you feel small, if you feel foggy, if you feel guilty for basic needs, something is off. You do not need a dramatic incident. Patterns are enough. You name the pattern. You reduce access. You choose distance if needed. And here is the question that should keep you alert. If your kindness is tied to your identity, what happens when someone learns they can control your identity with one label? You think you need stronger words, but you actually need stronger inner rules. They do not overpower you with force, they overload you with emotion. When you control your response window, you control your life. The next reveal is about the response window. The response window is the space between a trigger and your reply. If that window is small, you are easy to steer. If that window is wide, you become difficult to manipulate. Kind people often have a small window because they fear tension. They answer fast. They comfort fast. They agree fast. Speed looks polite, but speed is often surrender. The hidden manual depends on your speed. It wants you to answer before you think. It wants you to commit before you reflect. It wants you to defend before you evaluate. So the first mental skill is simple. You slow the window on purpose. You practice delay until delay feels normal. Delay is not a trick. Delay is emotional hygiene. When you delay, you separate feeling from action. You stop letting guilt drive your mouth. You stop letting fear write your message. You stop letting confusion choose your yes. And when you delay consistently, people learn a new rule: you cannot be rushed. The most powerful delay is the neutral pause. It looks calm, not dramatic. It sounds respectful, not defensive. It can be one sentence: I will think about it. I will reply after I check. I cannot answer right now. These lines protect you because they stop the emotional wave from pushing you. Now comes the second skill, the clean no. A clean no is a no that does not invite negotiation. Kind people often give a messy no. A messy no contains guilt, reasons and soft openings. It says, I am sorry, I wish I could, maybe later, I feel bad. This sounds kind, but it tells the other person exactly where to push. It reveals the guilt channel. A clean no is short and steady. No, I cannot. That does not work for me. I am not available. The tone is warm, but the message is firm. If you add reasons, keep them minimal. One reason is enough. More reasons create a debate arena. Debate is where boundaries die. Many viewers fear a clean no sounds rude. It does not. If your tone is calm, calm tone communicates respect. Over-explaining communicates fear, and fear invites pressure. The hidden manual reads fear like a map. Now we reveal a deeper pattern, the negotiation spiral. The negotiation spiral happens when you keep modifying your boundary to avoid conflict. You say no, then you offer a smaller yes. They reject, then you offer another. Soon your boundary becomes a bargaining table. The result is resentment. Resentment is the cost of self-betrayal. The antidote is the one-offer rule. You offer once. If you truly want to, then you stop. If they reject, you do not chase agreement. You do not increase your sacrifice to buy peace. Peace bought with sacrifice becomes bitterness. Another pattern is the emotional courtroom. The emotional courtroom is when someone tries to prove you are wrong for having a need. They cross-examine you. They ask why. They ask why again. They act confused. They demand proof. The goal is not understanding. The goal is to exhaust you until you give in. Your calm response is to exit the courtroom. You can say, I am not debating my boundary. You can say, I understand you disagree. You can say, this conversation is not productive. Then you pause or leave. Leaving is not dramatic. Leaving is choosing your nervous system over their control. Now comes the skill that changes social dynamics quickly. Boundary plus empathy. Many people think boundaries must be cold. That is false. Coldness creates war. Empathy without boundaries creates exploitation. Boundary plus empathy creates respect. You can say, I understand this matters to you. I am still not able to do it. You can say, I hear you are frustrated. I am still choosing this. You can say, I care about this, and my answer is no. Empathy softens the edge, but the boundary stays. This combination confuses pressure patterns because they rely on one of two scripts. They expect you to surrender, or they expect you to fight. When you do neither, their playbook fails. You become calm, clear, and unavailable for control. Now we go into emotional regulation under testing. Testing often comes in the form of tone shifts. The tone becomes sharp. The tone becomes mocking. The tone becomes disappointed. The tone becomes sweet, then cold. These shifts are meant to move you from calm to reaction. Reaction is the moment you lose your center. The hidden manual wants you to do one of three things: explode, collapse, or confess. Explode means anger, which can be framed against you. Collapse means apology, which gives them leverage. Confess means oversharing, which gives them information. Your goal is to do a fourth thing: contain. Contain means you hold your emotional energy inside your body without spilling it into words. You breathe slower. You speak slower. You keep sentences short. You do not match their pace. You do not match their volume. You keep your eyes steady. You keep your posture relaxed. This is not dominance. This is nervous system leadership. Nervous system leadership is a form of emotional intelligence. It means you do not borrow the other person's chaos. You let them carry their own emotion. You carry yours with skill. When you do this, they feel the difference. Many will calm down. Some will escalate. Escalation is data. Now we reveal a quiet tool, the reality line. The reality line is a sentence that states what is happening without accusation. It stops gaslighting and fog. It sounds like this: you are raising your voice. You are repeating the same point. You are changing the topic. You are asking me to decide right now. You are using guilt to pressure me. These lines are powerful because they expose the method. Some viewers fear naming will trigger conflict. It can, but it also ends games faster. Games require secrecy. When you name the method, you remove secrecy. If the other person is healthy, they adjust. If they are controlling, they will punish naming. Punishment reveals the truth. Now look at the next layer, your internal scripts. Internal scripts are the phrases you tell yourself under pressure. I must keep them happy. I must not upset anyone. I must be understood. I must prove I am good. These scripts create automatic surrender. Replace them with stronger inner rules. My needs matter. My no is allowed. Tension is temporary. I can be kind and firm. I do not decide under guilt. I do not explain beyond clarity. These rules widen the response window. They make you stable. There is also a crucial shift. You stop solving imagined consequences. Many kind people imagine disaster if they say no. They imagine losing love. They imagine being abandoned. They imagine being hated. Sometimes these consequences happen, but often they do not. And even when they happen, they reveal that the connection was conditional. Conditional connection says, you are loved when you obey. Unconditional respect says, you can say no and remain safe. If respect disappears after your no, you did not lose love. You lost a contract you never signed. Now we enter a subtle topic: strategic silence. Strategic silence is not silent treatment. Strategic silence is a pause. You choose to avoid feeding conflict. It is useful when someone is baiting you. Baiting is when they throw insults, sarcasm, or extreme claims to provoke your reaction. Reaction gives them energy and control. The calm move is to not pick up the bait. You can say, I will not respond to that. You can say, we can talk when it is respectful. Then you stop. Silence becomes your shield. Your dignity becomes your message. But silence must be paired with clear boundaries, or it becomes confusion. So you combine silence with one sentence. One sentence is enough. Then you exit. Exit is the consequence. Now we reveal the final pattern of this layer, the repair test. Healthy people repair after tension. Controlling patterns resist repair because repair reduces leverage. After a conflict, a healthy person can acknowledge harm. They can apologize without excuses. They can change behavior. A controlling pattern will rewrite history. They will deny tone. They will attack your memory. They will demand you move on without repair. Emotional intelligence means you require repair. You do not demand perfection, but you demand accountability. Accountability is not humiliation. Accountability is alignment between words and actions. If there is no repair, you reduce access. Access is the only language some patterns understand. And now the cliffhanger question that should cut deep. If your calm is real, why do you still feel guilty after setting a healthy boundary? You think guilt means you did something wrong, but guilt can be old training. They count on your guilt to reopen doors you finally closed. If you master this one skill, you stop being usable forever. Guilt after a boundary is the final chain, and it is usually internal. Most pressure patterns are not powerful by themselves. They become powerful when they recruit your nervous system. They make you feel responsible for emotions you did not create. They make you feel cruel for limits that are normal. They make you feel unstable for reactions that are human. Once guilt is active, you start repairing something that is not broken, which is you. To complete this manual, you must understand the difference between healthy guilt and trained guilt. Healthy guilt appears when you violate your own values. Trained guilt appears when you defend your own needs. Healthy guilt points you toward repair. Trained guilt points you toward surrender. The feeling can be similar, but the direction is opposite. Trained guilt is often built early through reward and punishment. You learned that harmony equals safety. You learned that other people being upset equals danger. You learned that your no causes tension, and tension must be fixed fast. So guilt became your fast-fixing tool. It pushed you to apologize, even when you were not wrong. It pushed you to explain, even when you were clear. It pushed you to give, even when you were empty. The hidden manual loves this because trained guilt is predictable. Predictable people are easy to steer. The goal now is not to eliminate guilt. The goal is to decode guilt. You treat guilt like a signal, not like a judge. You ask, what triggered this guilt? Is it value-based or fear-based? Does it push me toward repair or toward self-betrayal? This is the skill that ends the cycle. Guilt interrogation. Guilt interrogation is a set of questions you ask yourself before you act. You do not ask these questions during chaos. You ask them in the pause window. When you feel the spike, you slow your breath. Then you question the guilt with calm logic. Ask, did I lie or harm someone? Ask, did I break an agreement? Ask, did I insult their dignity? Ask, did I ignore a fair responsibility? If the answer is no, then your guilt is likely trained. Then ask, what am I afraid will happen now? Ask, what label am I trying to avoid? Ask, whose comfort am I prioritizing over my health? These questions expose the hook. Once you expose the hook, you choose a response based on principles. Principles are stable. Feelings change fast, and this is the core lesson of emotional intelligence in power psychology. You do not let a feeling decide your ethics. You let your ethics guide your behavior, while feelings rise and fall. Now we complete the calm method with a 4-step protocol. It is simple, but it is not easy. It turns emotional intelligence into a practical shield. First, pause and regulate. Inhale slowly, exhale longer. Relax the jaw, loosen the shoulders. Do not respond at peak emotion. Peak emotion is where you hand over the keys. Second, name the method. Name it to yourself first, then to them if needed. This is urgency pressure. This is guilt framing. This is confusion fog. This is punishment through withdrawal. Naming turns mystery into mechanics. Mechanics can be handled. Third, state the boundary cleanly. Keep it short. Keep it consistent. Do not argue. Do not plead. Do not chase understanding. You can be respectful without becoming negotiable. Fourth, enforce with a consequence. Consequence is simply removal of access. You end the conversation. You delay the reply. You step back from involvement. You do not do this with drama. You do it with calm certainty. This protocol works because it breaks the reward loop. Manipulation survives on reward. The reward is your reaction, your guilt payment or your surrender. When you stop providing reward, the pattern weakens. And here is a twist that many people ignore. When you stop providing reward, you might see escalation at first. Escalation is the old system trying harder because it used to work. This is where most kind people return to old habits. They see escalation and think, I should soften. But escalation is not proof you are wrong. Escalation is proof your boundary is working. Do not punish escalation with more surrender. Respond with more structure. Structure is the language of self-respect. Structure can be simple. Communication only when respectful. Requests only in clear terms. Decisions only after time to think. Support only within your capacity. You are not creating rules to control others. You are creating rules to protect your mind. Now we address something many people fear, becoming cold. The hidden manual can sound harsh, but the goal is not hardness. The goal is stable kindness. Stable kindness is compassionate and boundaried. It helps without rescuing. It listens without absorbing. It gives without disappearing. It says yes with clarity and no without guilt. Stable kindness also includes a new standard for trust. Trust is not a feeling. Trust is evidence. Evidence is patterns over time. If someone respects your no, trust grows. If someone punishes your no, trust shrinks. If someone repairs after conflict, trust grows. If someone denies and blames, trust shrinks. This is not cynicism. This is discernment. Discernment is emotional intelligence with memory. Memory is what pressure patterns want you to lose. They want you to focus on the current mood, not the repeated behavior. They want you to forgive the latest incident and forget the pattern. You stop doing that. You forgive if you want, but you still remember. Now we complete the mental model with 3 laws that keep you calm when tested. The first law is, boundaries reveal character faster than conversation. You can talk for hours and learn little. You can set one boundary and learn everything. How they respond is the truth. The second law is, respect is shown in disappointment. When someone is disappointed, they show their maturity. A respectful person stays respectful. A controlling pattern becomes punishing. You stop judging people by their words during comfort. You judge them by their behavior during limits. The third law is, your nervous system is your territory. If someone repeatedly dysregulates you, you reduce access. Access is earned, not granted by guilt. Now we bring everything together in a final set of phrases you can use. Because language is the bridge between mind and action. Use these phrases with calm tone, steady breathing, and minimal explanation. I will think and reply later. I am not available for that. My answer is no. I understand you are upset, and my decision stands. I will not discuss this with guilt or insults. We can talk when it is respectful. I am ending this conversation now. Notice what these phrases do. They remove urgency. They refuse labels. They avoid debate. They protect dignity on both sides. They do not attack. They do not beg. They do not entertain fog. They are quiet power. Now, you need one final internal shift, and this completes the whole arc. You stop measuring yourself by how others feel about your boundary. You measure yourself by how well you honor your values and health. Other people can feel disappointed, and you can still be a good person. Other people can disagree, and you can still be respectful. Other people can be upset, and you can still be calm. This is where the idea of being ruthless is safely reframed. You are ruthless with self-betrayal. You are ruthless with emotional debt that was never agreed. You are ruthless with pressure that tries to shrink your mind. You are not ruthless with people. You remain human. You remain empathetic. But you stop being accessible to manipulation. And here is the final twist that completes the manual. When you stop being usable, you will notice who only loved your compliance. That discovery can feel painful, but it is also liberation, because real connection does not require you to bleed quietly. Real connection does not punish your no. Real connection does not need you to stay confused. So you keep your kindness, but you remove the handle. You keep your empathy, but you add structure. You keep your calm, but you stop performing it for approval. You become emotionally intelligent in the way that matters most. You choose your response, you choose your access, and you choose your peace. Now ask yourself the closing question that decides your future. If your guilt disappears when you choose yourself, who were you really living for?